And hello, folks. We are back. Welcome to the latest and greatest from Step Brother Sports, part of the Hockey Podcast Network and the Bills Mafia Buffalo fan base platform. We are sponsored by Rich Brow Brewing, is Richmond, Virginia's top Buffalo Bills backers bar, located at 5 South 20th Street in Richmond, Virginia. So, after a week away celebrating some Thanksgiving and watching some up and down play from both the Buffalo Bills and the Buffalo Sabres, we've got a lot to say about all that, as well as some personnel moves that have taken place for both. Furthermore, we're thrilled to bring on today's guest, another fellow Hockey Podcast Network affiliate, and also covers the New Jersey Devils on his podcast, The Devil's State of Mind. And he covers the team on the fan-sided platform with his Pucks and Pitchforks website, and he is also having an awesome connection to the Buffalo Bills and the NFL through his family. So please welcome to the show, Neil Villapiano. Neil, how we doing?
Guys, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. Really excited to talk some Devils hockey and also some Bills, which I'm sure your audience will be very interested to know more about that for sure.
Yeah, man. So it's
first place Devils actually. We're going to be talking about here.
Actually, fourth in the Metro. I think. Well,
by the end of tonight, they might be out of a wild card spot. So that's how tight the Metro division is this year. So
yeah. All right, but Neil, on a more like human side of things, did you have an enjoyable Thanksgiving? Any interesting food takes from the day?
Yeah, no. Again, wonderful Thanksgiving. I'm actually in a new house. Me and my family moved to a place called Toms River, New Jersey. Which, I mean, if anybody has ever heard of Toms River, that's where I'm from now. And this was our first Thanksgiving dinner in the new place, and it was great. It was great. Me and my dad. As we do tradition every year, we go to a high school football game, try to find some local. Not as many high school football games on Thanksgiving as there used to be when I was a kid, but I'm glad that there's still some that I can go to. And we had a good time and we had a great meal. We had our famous White Castle stuffing, which is courtesy of one of my oldest brother. He got it from a friend when he was living out in Chicago. And that's always our all-time favorite. And
I have to know what is in White Castle stuffing.
So to put it, I mean, it's very simple. It literally is just grounded up burgers from White Castle.
Okay,
like it's not anything like, So like you could go to like your local like grocery store and get like the frozen ones, or you can even go to you could go to like I would recommend this. Go to White Castle the day of, because I mean they're going to be open, and just get a bunch there and do it that way. That's my recommendation. And that's simply it, and it's great. It's fantastic.
Duly noted. One quick side note before we get into the swing of things here with the show. I have a funny White Castle story. Right in the heyday of like when Harold and Kumar came out, where like Harold and Kumar go to White Castle. I was a senior in high school. Go figure, in Buffalo, snows a shitload. And my friends are like, well, we just watched Harold and Kumar. Like, let's try and find a White Castle. So the nearest White Castle from Buffalo is in Cleveland, literally in Cleveland. So mind you, Cleveland's about 3 hours and change from Buffalo. Just take the 90 westbound and you're there.
Okay.
And we're like, all right, let's go to Cleveland. Let's go check this out. This because, again, what are we going to do at 18 or 17, 18 years old and just ultimately – keep this from our parents and our families and just sneak out and like, oh yeah, I'm just going to my buddy's house for the day. We drove to Cleveland. We using like MapQuest and stuff, but it was an easy shot. But again, we get to Cleveland, we go there. Needless to say, it was a little bit of a dicey one we picked. That was close. It was most definitely in a not so desirable spot of Cleveland. And after eating there briefly, we established the fact that Harold and Kumar at this point could have gone to Burger King instead, or anywhere else for that matter. But the trip to Cleveland was cool because we did a little bit of exploring, because it also got us out of like the very, very snow-covered Buffalo at the time. This was like 2006 when this happened too.
Yeah, and you went to another cold area of Cleveland.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Right.
But either way, a fun little White Castle side note there.
That's awesome.
The side note about that story too is our parents ended up not finding out about that story until like recently.
Oh yeah, like years later. Oh yeah, they're like,
yeah.
And I was talking about it like matter of fact one day. They're like, "What do you mean you went to Cleveland?" And so,
we went to Cleveland.
Blew
yeah.
himself in 15 years later.
Yeah, but like the statute of limitations had passed. So
That's
it's not
what I
like
say.
you
It's
can make
over
fun of
now.
me, so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's already been done. There's nothing you can do about it.
Exactly. But anyway,
I do have a quick
yeah.
note to chime in before Chris Maz jumps in. So the Devils, I mentioned I thought they were in first place. So they are, as you noted, they're 3 points down in the Metro division at the moment. But with one game less played than the Caps, they have one less win. So they have 16 wins. So the last time I checked the standings, they were in first, in my own defense.
Well,
they're playing
the
great.
Devils currently on a 3-game losing streak, so things are not in the best. I mean, if you guys interviewed me last week, I would be in a much different mindset right now with this team than I am right now.
Oh, I'm sure, especially after the most recent Sabres Devils game that just happened too. We'll have some
last
takes
win
on
the
that.
Devils have had of late.
Oh man, all right, yeah. But anyway, Neil, we want to go ahead and get into a little bit of your origins, because anytime we have a guest on for the first time, we like to get in the background of our guests, like the first time we have them on. But with that being said, tell us a little bit about your sports origins, like whether it be some of your core sports memories as a fan growing up, what got you into the field covering New Jersey Devils hockey, or just like any sport that you enjoy following or covering, and ultimately like how you got to where you are today. So floor is yours for this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, from the time I was pretty little, I was always, enmeshed in sports. My brother, you know, my my brother, my dad, everybody in the family, and also somebody in my family that we will talk about a little bit later on this episode. Just all involved in sports in one capacity or another. And, as my parents will tell you, I always had the gift of gab, even when I was a child. And over time, became clear that I wasn't going to be a professional athlete. God did not gift me with the unbelievable ability to throw the football the way Josh Allen does, or even secure a wife as pretty as Haley Steinfeld. But nonetheless, no, I really, I started once somebody told me that you could go to games and you could broadcast. I mean, I was hooked. I was hooked right away. And from the time I was like 8 or 9 years old to now, it's just that's what I've wanted to do. I've gone to many sports broadcasting camps. I got my certification in broadcasting and journalism from Hofstra University. And I've worked alongside some really good people, Bruce Beck, Ian Eagle, so many Steve Gelbs, who works over at SNY. I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of other people as well. Kenny Albert, and I could go on and on and on. And they've always, a lot of those guys have been very supportive of me, and they've told me to just keep going at it, and it just gives you that confidence, right? And I've really loved that. And I've done a lot of different sports. I had a sports talk TV show down in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, near Philadelphia, from 2016 to 2019. And then that kind of leads me into like how I got to where I am today. So like the funny story is that, unfortunately due to, stuff on the network that I was a part of their end, I was fortunately part of some cuts that happened, which is always unfortunate. Nonetheless, months go by and I interacted with somebody that we work with here at THPN, Isha Jerome, and he was doing a Minnesota Wild podcast. And I was just interacting with the podcast on Twitter, literally just for the sake of like talking about hockey, because, hockey's my passion. I've been a Devils fan my whole life. I grew up watching the legendary Martin Brodeur. I used to go to games at the old Continental Airlines Arena, and then obviously in the early goings at the Prudential Center. Adam Henrique's "It's Over" goal back in 2012 is one of my favorite memories. Marty, getting 552nd win to become the winningest goaltender in NHL history, and a record that I don't think will be broken by anybody. But nonetheless, going back to my story, Isha reached out to me and he goes, "Hey, would love to have you on the podcast for an episode just to talk some Minnesota Wild hockey. And I also see you're a pretty big Devils fan, so we can talk about the Devils too." And I was like, "Sure." So I go on and we chatted it up, and he really loved having me on. And he said, "Hey, so I'm a part of this network. I started this with Dylan Kaiser, who we all love. Shout out to Dylan. Um, and he said, "Look, we're actually looking for someone to host our Devils podcast. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Absolutely." And I finally got the opportunity to cover my favorite team for my favorite sport. And on June 1st of 2020, the Devil State of Mind podcast, as you can see right here, was born. And I have not looked back since. And it has opened the doors to so many possibilities, and I've got the chance to meet so many people, opportunities that I didn't think were possible when I was younger. And the podcast just continues to grow. And I think one of the things that I'm most grateful for is the community that I've created in Devils World. Devils fans, for people that don't know or are on the outside, Devils fans are very close knit because we're a smaller fan base, in the shadows of the New York media, and dealing with the Rangers and the Islanders and, the Flyers to a lesser extent. And, you know, it's been tough for many years to get a lot of coverage of the Devils. There just isn't that much, even now, right? There's a couple of outlets, but in terms of like local media, there just isn't that much. And so that's where someone like me comes in, right? And has a podcast that has a big platform that's able to talk about the team on a weekly basis and really give my breakdown of things. Have some really awesome guests on over the years, which I've been very fortunate to have. Guys like former NHL goaltender Jonas Hiller, former New Jersey Devil, um, Ryan Carter. I've had Brendan Burke, who broadcasts for the New York Islanders. A lot of different people over the years, and I'm going to continue to get more people on as we go along. But I also like getting fans on because my mantra for the podcast is for the fans, by a fan. Because at the end of the day, as much as I want to be in the hockey media world as my long-term career, I am, as we all do, we start as fans, right? And I've never really forgotten that, and I don't want to forget that, right? And so that's what I believe in. And so I like to get fans on as well to get their perspective, because I think there's a lot of people out there that don't have those platforms that also bring a lot of really good insight into the team that maybe other people weren't thinking about. That kind of makes you, notice things and go, "Oh, that's interesting. Didn't think about that." So yeah, like I said, from June 1st, 2020 to now, we're talking well over, 5.5 years later, I'm still doing this podcast, and I'm so thankful for the Hockey Podcast Network for giving some kid from Central New Jersey the opportunity to turn something that he's passionate into a career and a passion project that I'm so proud of. And what's really great, and it's led me to things like this, I was telling you guys off before we started that on July 1st of 2026, I will actually be up in Syracuse and attending Syracuse University at the master's level for sports media and broadcasting. And I'm really excited. It's a 13-month master's program, and I get to go to my dream school at the master's level. And I'm so unbelievably excited to be there and make those contacts and, follow those legendary names like Mike Tirico, former Devils broadcaster Bill Spalding, and again the list, Bill, Bob Costas. The list goes on and on and on. I mean, there's so many great names that have come through in the broadcasting world from Syracuse University. Ian Eagle and his son Noah Eagle, and all these guys. I mean, it's wonderful. And so yeah, that's the long-winded version of how I've gotten to where I am today.
Dude, that is a hell of a resume.
That's
Shout
amazing.
out to you, man. That is like an ultimate, not only like a grind the way you got to where you are, but you've not only made some outstanding connections, but just like the experiences you have just getting to where you are, I think is amazing. So, hey,
thank you.
Yeah, love to hear all that. I mean,
quick shout out Neil too. You got to shout out Syracuse too. So just so you know, I stormed the court the other night. I was there.
Oh, I know you were there, but I didn't know you stormed the court. Good for you.
Oh yeah, man. I went. We were sitting in the front row. I do an annual birthday trip. My birthday was the day after Thanksgiving. So go up to Buffalo. I have a couple of thanks, but yeah, go up there. We're sitting in the front row, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, we probably don't have a chance of really winning, although Syracuse, they took Houston to overtime at the time. They were the number 2 ranked team. They played hard. So we go. I'm thinking like, number 13th ranked. I think they were like top 15 preseason, whatever it was. And I'm like, man, if we could play, with good D, you never know what happens. And literally, they really controlled that game from like tip, like from the beginning, and like had the lead for all of maybe like a minute or at the very end of the game. They kind of relinquished the lead, but then got it back and were able to hit some foul shots to ice it. But yeah, we're like, man, like Syracuse really hasn't had like a signature type of win since Jim Boeheim left.
Yeah.
And so that was like the biggest win of their coach's career, Autry. So we're like, we got to storm the court. So yeah, we were part of that. And we were like on the front lines. Like we were like part of the people that like started it, my buddies and I. So yeah, shout out to Syracuse, man. I also like you too, just real quick, and I'll let you jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
I also have plans of getting my master's from Syracuse, from their business school, my MBA.
Good for you.
Yeah, man. That. So we'll be Orange Brothers, man. That's awesome.
I love that. I'm really excited to be a part of the Orange family, and I'm really excited in particular to if I get the chance to meet Fran Brown, because he's a Jersey guy. A lot of his coaching staff is from New Jersey. Gets a lot of Jersey kids. So it's a little more special for me because for people that know me very well, I'm very, very passionate about the state that I'm from. I'm born and raised in New Jersey. I grew up, football wise, I grew up a Rutgers fan too. So I lived through pain every year during college football season. No, I don't want to talk about the Penn State game that happened last week. Please do not make me talk about it because I will get very upset. That's one thing you don't want to see me rant about because I could do a whole hour on that. But I did get a chance to watch that Syracuse game against Tennessee, and that was great. Adrian Autry, he really needed that win. He had a disappointing year last year, but the class that he brought in with Carmelo Anthony's son, Keon, this is a fun young team that I think could really surprise a lot of people in the ACC and maybe even make a run to getting into the tournament in March. And that would be really fun for a program that needs that. And it's been struggling to find that identity since Jim Boeheim retired. That was a big win. And that's going to help them, especially if they can continue to collect those Group 5 wins down the stretch and get themselves. It would be great. And overall, I'm happy now to be a part of this family, and I look forward to starting next July.
Yeah, hell yeah, man! Congrats on getting in once more. So,
and I think I'm definitely gonna try to go up for a Bills game. It's only 2 hours.
You've got it, man. A tailgate experience unlike anything you've ever.
Maybe I'll go to Devils Sabres too. While I'm at
there, you go. Get the whole package in.
Yeah,
got a few comments in the show already. So let's see. Beachmaster 9042. How much for Tage Thompson? Too much right now. Too much.
I mean, I would be lying to you if I didn't tell you that there are many Devils fans that have said to me that they would absolutely love it if Tage Thompson was available. Because
I know that's right.
I think he's at the same level as like Quinn Hughes in terms of like what we're willing to give up to try to acquire the services. But I think Tage Thompson is more unrealistic right now than Quinn Hughes. I mean, there's a lot of Quinn Hughes chatter right now. So.
Oh yeah. So a couple other comments. Hello to our Texas fam as always. Thanks for always tuning in. Again, shout out to our friend Adam. Yes. So I'll making sure to get that Go Bills in. A newly converted Bills fan this past year. He never had a team his whole life. So, hey, I got him on the wagon, and what a wagon to be on. And then also Colton Ellis. That'll be a topic of conversation later tonight too. That's for sure. But yeah, let's get the ball rolling here. So with the New Jersey Devils, obviously, as of now, like we talked about what their record is and what they'll be probably after tonight too. Despite some of the injuries they've had, they've been pretty solid positioning. A lot of strong special teams play on power play, and some contributions from a healthy Nico Hischier and a really let's say a resurgent Dawson Mercer too, really helping out the team.
Yeah.
Still a pretty strong contender in the Metro League right now. I think we were just talking about it earlier. I believe you'll be in 4th in the Metro, even after tonight's game as well. Some advanced metrics, again, just kind of looking at the team right now, at least from what I was looking at earlier, 6th in power play percentage, 7th in penalty kill. So really strong, like we were saying. And penalty kill percentage right there. Goals for per game. They're 12th with averaging 3 goals for per game. Goals against, they're at 3.04, kind of like middle of the pack there as far as defensively in terms of like the raw goals against. As far as expected goals for, they're right around approximately 50%, and same with like their Corsi average there as well. But a couple of key player things I've kind of noted for, like as far as some of the Devils' performance. Jack Hughes' injury obviously looms large for multiple weeks. I mean, a lot of people like to joke, did he truly slice his finger off, maybe trying to impersonate Jeremy Allen White while he was in Chicago? I know that was a big hot topic for a while. But you got Nico Hischier, Timo Meier. They're really stepping up their production in Hughes' them's. They're combining for 16 points over that recent 5-game stretch. Mercer, like I talked about, having a really nice breakout season, playing some strong top 6 minutes. And you got Jake Allen, who's been really solid in between the pipes so long.
Yes,
he goalied the Sabres last week. So
he always does. I told Chris Maz, he goalies us every time.
He does have a very impressive record against the Sabres for sure. He does.
But anyway, Neil, what's been your overall take on the Devils at this point? Obviously, you are passionate, not only covering the team as you have for years now, but what are your takes on them so far as we're now past the quarter mark of the NHL season?
I think first and foremost, I think what's interesting is that you mentioned essentially the team's top 6, and that was about it. And that's mainly because from an offensive standpoint, that really is this team. There's a couple things that really kind of stand out to me when I look at this team. First and foremost, obviously that 8-game winning streak to start the year was huge, especially considering where the team is right now. I'll be very honest with you guys. This team is very similar to last year. And what I mean by that is the Devils general manager, Tom Fitzgerald, he talked about all offseason that he was going to improve the team's bottom 6 because it wasn't good enough last year. And he got rid of a lot of guys. He let a lot of guys go, made a trade, moved on from Eric Halla, let Nate Bastian go, guys like that. But he really didn't improve the bottom 6 all that much. Bringing back Cody Glass, I thought was important because he, when this team is fully healthy, I think he could be a really good 4th-line center or at least 3rd-line center. You brought in Connor Brown over from Edmonton, and, Brown got off to a really, really awesome start. Obviously, he got hurt like many other guys on this team got hurt and really hasn't been able to get back to the same level that he was at. Luke Glendening came in as a PTO and started off pretty well, but hasn't done much of anything since. And the same thing with Juho Lemiku as well. So really what I'm getting at is that the Devils are in a situation right now where they have the ability to create a lot of chances. They just don't do a good enough job of finishing. And if anybody watched the game last night in the 3-0 loss to the Dallas Stars, it's a really good example of that. In the first about 25 minutes of that game, the Devils really kind of dictated the play. They put a lot of pucks on Jake Ottinger. Remember, this was the Stars' second game of a back-to-back. So you felt that it was an opportunity for the Devils, especially coming off a day off, where they're feeling a little bit more rested and ready to go. And the thing is that when you look at a lot of those shots, they weren't really creating a lot of traffic in front of Ottinger. And then eventually the Stars get the first goal. And as Sheldon Keefe put it at the end of the game, the team just kind of was lifeless after that. And they ended up giving up two more goals and got shut out at home. And now they've lost 3 in a row and 3 at home, which they started the year off so strong at home. They made it a fortress, and now they're going through a difficult stretch. This is, once again, the longest losing streak the Devils have had this year, and hopefully with the game tomorrow against Vegas, maybe they can salvage this homestand with just getting a win against a talented and dangerous Vegas team. But it all just comes back to the same kind of things. Jack Hughes getting hurt. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, right? Like you get used to it.
Freak injury, truly.
It is a freak injury, right? A lot of people might not agree with this. A lot of the injuries he sustained have been freak injuries, just in bad timing, bad positioning, and just unfortunate circumstances. But nonetheless, the Devils are proving a lot of the outside media correct that if Jack Hughes is out of the lineup, this team struggles. But with Brett Pesce also out of the lineup on the back end, with how good he is and how much the rest of that defense follows him, the defense is struggling. And the Devils' goaltending has been an issue of late. Jake Allen, again, you mentioned him playing well against Buffalo, hasn't played all that well since. And Jacob Markstrom has had a very, very rough go of it of late. And especially now that he has that 2-year extension, a lot of people talking about buyer's remorse and wondering if, Tom Fitzgerald jumped the gun a bit when it came to extending him. But it all kind of comes back to this. When the Devils are at full strength with the team that they have now, as we've seen earlier this year, and they're clicking, It's a very tough team to play. However, I don't believe that the Devils are a cup contending team yet. They still need to add. They're missing a top 6 winger that can play and can score on a consistent basis, and they're missing a third line center. And I think maybe changing the defense a little bit would be a possibility. But the thing is that when that defense is healthy and playing well, it's one of the better defenses in the NHL.
For
And
sure.
I think that a lot of people are looking at this situation and from the Devils' perspective, and people say, oh, the sky is falling. Because us as Devils fans, we have seen this before. We've seen this the last several years. Jack Hughes and other people get hurt. The team struggles to score and struggles to win games, and we're just barely getting by. And really, the Devils have to just try to string along some victories here over the next couple of weeks. There is the possibility that in about 3 weeks from now, that maybe Jack Hughes comes back early. I think the more likely route is that he'll be back the first week, maybe the second week of January, I think at this point. The good news is he's coming back. Brett Pesce comes back. Jonathan Kovacevic will eventually make his debut. He's been out since the end of last year, had off-season surgery, and they said he was going to be back in January of 2026. So, we're waiting on him as well. But Tom Fitzgerald has done this before. Sit around, don't do anything, and allow the team to continue to fall down. And that's where my issue comes from. It comes from, we have a GM that, for reasons that I can't fully understand, refuses to make any sort of bigger changes that really kind of catch your attention and say, oh, he's really trying to make him, do something here. I mean, look at some of the top teams in the league, right? A lot of people praise Eric Tulowski of Carolina. I mean, look at what he did last year, right? He gets Rantanen for like a half the season,
swinging for the fences the whole time.
Yeah, he turns it around, gets Logan Stankoven, who has been great with Carolina, and they're just as good, if not better, than when they had Rantanen, right?
Not only that, he extended Rod the Bod for a few more years, too.
Extended Rod the Bod, which, by the way, some people wanted him fired. If you ask some Canes fans, some people wanted him fired a year and a half ago. I'm just saying. So it's, sometimes you gotta be a little bit more patient. I mean, and when we talk about Rantanen, look at Dallas. Dallas makes that move. They get Rantanen. Rantanen fits in perfectly with the Stars. And that's a very good team.
Big run with them, too.
100%. And then you look at Joe Sakic and what he's done with Colorado. I mean, they're going to lose tonight to the Islanders, but that's only their second regulation loss all year. That team is so unbelievably good that they don't even need elite goaltending from Scott Wedgwood and Mackenzie Blackwood to ultimately win games because they're that deep. So what I'm getting at is that the Devils, they have this core of a lot of talent. Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, Timo Meier, Dawson Mercer. On the back end, you got Luke Hughes as well, who just signed that long-term deal. You have Arseny Griciuk, who is coming up in his first year in the NHL after playing several years in Russia. He looks like he fits in very well and can definitely put the puck in the back of the net on a fairly consistent basis. But the Devils, with this core, only have a second-round exit to show for it at this point. And that's where the problem lies. And that's why you keep hearing in the media, oh, the Devils are looking to try to make a big swing. Yeah, well, they keep looking, but they haven't done anything. And the reality is that Tom Fitzgerald needs to help this team, regardless of the injury situation, which you should have been prepared for anyway, because this is your team and you've seen this for several years.
Right.
You need to add. You need to add and help this team. Give them that confidence. Right now, they don't have a lot of confidence. And it's really going to have to come from the guys within that locker room to really right the ship. And I have a lot of confidence in Sheldon Keefe. He holds this team accountable. I think he's been one of the better coaches this Devils team has had in a long time. And we just need to see this team find a way to turn some things around here. And they need their general manager to step up. Because if they, in my opinion, if they go and get into the playoffs and get knocked out again in the first round, I'm very sorry. But I don't see a world where Tom Fitzgerald deserves the right to keep trying to build this team when he took a team in 22-23, which was unbelievable, 115 points, a record 52 wins. And they haven't even gotten close to that since. In many ways, he overcompensated because he listened to so many people that say, the Devils are small. the Devils are soft. They can't compete with the big dogs. So we're going to go away from our identity, which made us that dominant, especially 5-on-5. And we're going to get slower. We're going to get older. We're going to get grittier. And it's not working. It just
sounds familiar, except you have a GM that's more of a go-getter as opposed to what we're stuck with in Kevin
wait
Adams.
and see approach.
More on him later.
Right. And so that's really like where I'm at with this team. Is it panic time? No. I mean, it is December. One of the things that's been frustrating is that I would honestly say this, in any other year, the Devils would be in a much more comfortable position, even with a 3-game losing streak. But with how much the NHL as a whole is this tight, it's unfortunate. Now, is it going to sustain? No. At some point, the teams that we expect to be good and like the contending teams, they're going to start separating themselves from the rest of the pack. But right now, it's a tight race. I mean, again, the Devils are going to go from being third in the Metro or even second last night to all the way down to like fourth or fifth in the Metro, just like that, because of how tight it is. And it's not necessarily like the Devils are falling all the way down. They win 2 or 3 games in a row, they're right back near the top of the division.
The East is a log jam this year.
Exactly.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that later for like who's contending and who's not. But you mentioned a lot about Sheldon Keefe and coaching on as far as like how much of an impact he's had. Very much so. And I want to tee up Sean for this one, for the next one, just because obviously the Devils and the Sabres have quite a connection as far as coaching goes. So I'll let you have it on that one.
Yeah, well, actually, and if I could really quick, as I was kind of like making a mental note as you were talking, I had a couple questions for you, just as far as like some personnel. When I'm looking over, knowing that you're coming on and looking at some of the actual players on the roster, and I have kind of a quick question on all 3 levels: forward, D, and goalie, and real quick ones. So I know you mentioned that the goalie hasn't been as good as of late, but I mentioned he goalied us the other night. And he's been really good. I mean, back because didn't he was on the Lightning for a while, wasn't he?
Jake Allen, he was in he was with Montreal.
Oh, yep, you're right.
Canadians.
Yeah. But I wonder, so I was looking at this, like the stats on the year, and you got really both goalies. They've kind of split evenly. They have about the same number of starts, but I noticed that Allen has a significantly better like goals against by like a point or so more. So I wonder, with what you're seeing, the way that they're kind of splitting it up, do you see, especially when you mentioned he's not playing as well, as of late, do you think they have what it's going to take for one of those guys, whether it be him or Markstrom, to kind of separate and be a playoff level goalie? That's one. 2, and there's 2 quick hitters. Yeah. I mentioned a guy I really like. We haven't brought up his name yet, but Simon Nemec, bro. I like him. He's now surpassed his goal total already at a quarter mark of what he put up the last 2 years combined.
Correct.
3 and 2, and he's already put up 6. So as 21 years old, he's obviously an up and coming guy. He's a big part of the blue line that we haven't mentioned yet. How do you see him? Has he kind of arrived and really starting to put the offense up? And then 3, dude, what happened to my guy? What's his name? Demonov. Or what's the guy's name? He used to play for the Panthers. He's played like 5 games.
Evgeny
Dadonov. What's going on?
I was thinking, like, do you mean the guy from Montreal, Demidov?
No, sorry, I couldn't think of his name. He's been irrelevant. Yeah, he's been 5 games this year. What's going on?
So, all right, so I'll do the Dadonov one very simply because it's very quick.
Yeah,
the man unfortunately broke his hand, and he came back. He broke his hand in the first game of the year. Which, by the way, if you come to the Devils, you are almost automatically guaranteed at some point to get hurt. It's just a weird. It's so unfortunate, right? Because Dadonov played, I think, 81 or almost 82 games last year in Dallas and put up 20 goals. And look, the Devils signed him to a 1-year deal at $1 million, and like, to me, it was like, I mean, this is a guy that can be a top 6 guy and play well. And unfortunately, it hasn't happened. And so he came back for a couple of games, didn't look all that good. Now he's back on the IR. Somebody showed me a picture because the Devils were doing their visits to the local hospitals. He has his whole hand in a cast, like literally from like here to like here. So I'd love to be able to give you an update in terms of like how long. We don't know because they haven't even said anything about him. The Devils are really, really, you have to understand, the Devils are really bad at communicating what is going on with their own team. They'll tell us, thus and so is weeks away. And then 2 days later, he's back on the ice playing, and we're like,
not to mention the fact that the NHL itself is just notoriously horrendously vague
I don't know
about
exactly
injuries in
what
general.
it's like for other teams in the league, like other fan bases. Like, I don't know what it's necessarily like in Buffalo if somebody gets hurt and how long, if they're like transparent about it. But like, it's annoying. I mean, you guys watch football, right? In the NFL, somebody gets hurt, you know exactly within 5 minutes, literally within 5 minutes of the guy getting hurt, you know exactly what he's dealing with. They'll tell you.
Shit might as well be like a HIPAA violation at that point.
To tell people what's going on. So that to me is with that. So with the Donov, yeah, I mean that's the
that would help your bottom six scoring a bit if he was available.
little bit. Yeah. I mean, if he was fully healthy. Talking about Shimon Nemec, I mean, yeah, the kid has a flair for the dramatics, by the way. I mean, he's a clutch player. We've already seen it 3 or 4 times this year. He had a hat trick and the overtime winner a couple weeks ago in Chicago. I mean, that was the coming out party for Shimon Nemec. And it's really interesting with him because, everybody, including myself, wanted to see the Devils draft Yurav Slavkovsky in that draft year. Because we all thought that the guy that's in Shane Wright, we all thought that Shane Wright was going number 1 overall that draft year, and he drops all the way to Seattle. Yeah.
Yep.
But Slavkovsky went, and then we were like, well, who the Devils going to take? They took Shimon Nemec, and not a lot of people, including myself, really, I mean, I remember watching him in the Olympics when he was playing for Slovakia, but I didn't know that much about him. And I know a lot of Devils fans are saying, oh, we should have drafted Logan Cooley, hindsight's 20. There's no guarantee that Logan Cooley would be the player that he is now if he was in New Jersey. I mean, there's no guarantee to that. But with Shimon Nemec, he was a late bloomer. It took him some time to really get going. And you have to understand this, with the amount of injuries the team has had the last couple of years, he's been thrown into top 4 minutes way sooner than I think the Devils wanted him to. And he was playing hurt all of last year because he got hurt before the beginning of the season because of Olympic qualifiers. Never really got going, but then got that big overtime goal against the Canes in Game 3 of that first round series, the only Devils win of that series. And then this year, I mean, he really has stepped up. A lot of people were saying, we got to trade him. We got to bring up Seamus Casey. And now everybody's flipped. And everybody's like, well, we don't need Seamus Casey anymore. We got Shimon Nemec. And it's just funny how things can flip when you have a couple of good performances. But overall, man, I really am happy. And again, he's only 21 years of age.
21.
He's got so many more years left to develop. I always like to tell people that I think you're in the prime of your career when you reach that 24, 25 age level. That's personally how I am with it. I know some people would say it's sooner than that, but like, especially for defensemen, unless you're a once
like
in a generation.
He's at like Darlene level. That's Darlene 24. He's at the head of his powers right now, 100%.
Exactly. And like, I'm not saying that Shimon Nemec was going to get to like the Cale Makar or the Quinn Hughes or that level right away, but you could see that he has that confidence now. And he's making his mark and making sure that, hey, even when Pesce and Kovacevic come back, you're not taking me out of this lineup. And I'll tell you this, Pesce comes back, Kovacevic comes back. Guess what? Right side, you got, and even with Dougie Hamilton still there, you have Pesce, Kovacevic, Nemec. You potentially could have Nemec as your third pairing defenseman with the way he's playing. And that is kind of the riches that many GMs would love to have. And that's going to bring up some interesting things to talk about later in the year with guys like Dougie Hamilton, who's been in trade rumors earlier before the season started and even talking about it now, like, with the way Nemec is playing and, with Kovacevic and Pesce, like, is Dougie Hamilton now more expendable? And he's had a difficult year up until this point, but nonetheless, it's going to be something to talk about. But Nemec has been great. And it's really great to see him blossom the way he has. And I'm hoping he can continue. And he's arguably the most clutch player that we have on this team. When we need a big goal, as we've seen about 3 or 4 times this year, he's the guy that we look to. And it's so ironic that he's a defenseman. He's not even one of our forwards that we look to.
I mean, talking about defensemen again, I mean, we have obviously Darlene. I mean, Matthias Samuelsson, who we've been extremely critical of in the last calendar year, like he's starting to show his own. I mean, we wish we had more of that on the Sabres blue line because
Sure.
Owen Power has been an absolute like whipping boy this year for how not only are his advanced metrics not great. I mean, offensively, he's a great offensive defenseman, but like his lack of physicality and the fact that he doesn't have a point in the last 10 games has really like started to make many in the Saberhood quite sour on him. So again, a little bit more of a potent defense considering how much the Sabres are spending on the defense as really starting to ruffle some feathers here. But to kind of circle back a bit on the coaching, Sean, I want to tee you up for this one because it's talking about Sheldon Keefe, comparing him to Ruff.
Yeah. And obviously, we know Sheldon Keefe well. He was in Toronto for quite a long time until he wasn't.
Right.
So, many could say, I guess, to this point, he's kind of righted the ship. And it's also following Lindy Ruff, who did a good job in New Jersey until he was let go. I think, and I'd love to hear your opinion on, if it was justified or not. I think that's debatable. But yeah, what's been your overall opinion of Keefe's approach to the team? Obviously, different style, the way that they're playing compared to like Lindy Ruff beforehand or before that. But keeping in mind, Lindy Ruff did have the team scoring and competing at an historical pace, like you mentioned earlier. So yeah, what's your thoughts about kind of how that has kind of gone along and the way that the style that you guys are playing? Because it gets a little bit different now, but maybe it's more sustainable. Who knows? What do you think about Keefe?
Well, I think with Sheldon Keefe, before the Devils hired him and the Devils let go of Lindy Ruff, which I felt was justified because I think the Devils needed a change. I don't put it completely on Lindy, but in terms of accountability, there wasn't. Some people even argued that it was more of a country club kind of vibe in that locker room, that guys were just kind of allowed to make 1,000,001 mistakes and not really be criticized for it. And that was really kind of where it really irritated me with Lindy. He wouldn't really give us good answers as to why things were the way they were. It was frustrating when he would bench guys for reasons that I couldn't. He would bench Jesper Bratt, and we would all just be like, I don't get that. And granted, there were a couple times where he benched a guy, he would come right back in the lineup and he would start lighting it up. So maybe that was what some of these guys needed, right? It all depends on the guy you're talking about. But I think the one thing that I miss about Lindy Ruff from the Devils is this. The Devils, when Lindy was here, was a 5-on-5 machine. They were so good 5-on-5. The way that system was so beneficial. You just got to go back to the 22-23 season and look through their highlights. Look at those 5-on-5 goals. It was crisp passing. It was speed. That was really what Lindy was all about with this team. Speed, skill, push the pace. You're averaging 35, 40 shots a game. You may not win a lot, although the Devils didn't win a lot that year, but you're putting pressure on these guys. And it's not just throwing shots. It's throwing shots with purpose. And that's really what I took away. But nonetheless, I think Lindy's voice became stale. I think that the team wasn't listening. And honestly, he made some line decisions that were incredibly frustrating. And it needed to change. And again, I think that Tom Fitzgerald, waited too long to make that decision. I think, he was, because that was his first hire.
Hearing you say this about Lindy Ruff right now, obviously he was welcomed back to Buffalo with open arms, of course, because of just his past with them and just is arguably one of the most winningest coaches for the franchise. I think he obviously is, just for how long he was there. But just hearing you say all these things, this sounds quite familiar because lineup decisions. Obviously, the benchings haven't been called into too much question this year, and even a little bit of last year as well. But still, you mentioned the country club leadership style there, and the whole idea of bringing Lindy back was to bring accountability to the locker room, because apparently when Don Granado was the coach, like, again, that was like the same mentality. Like, they were too soft on the players. They weren't holding anybody accountable.
Right.
And the whole idea of bringing him there was to make sure he would be harder on the players. Oh, there'd be a strict training camp. Like, if a guy needs to get benched, blah, 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 he'll get benched for whatever reasons, just to improve his player, to like show that, hey, you want to be part of this team, you need to show that you're worth it, and you can play two-way hockey at all times. Again, you mentioned the 5-on-5 play, which is still pretty evident in the Sabres gameplay, for both this year and last year.
Yeah.
But the message getting stale, I think that rings very true. I mean, it's only year 2 with Lindy being here, but again, he's showing his age. I mean, he's one of the oldest coaches in the league at this point. I mean, it's really, you hate to see Lindy go in this way, if this is like the way he does go out as a coach in the NHL, because of just how beloved he is really in Buffalo still. I mean, but just comparing Lindy to Sheldon Keefe, it's just like so much clash between the two. I mean, what's more your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, again, I was really excited when there was the possibility that the Devils could hire Sheldon Keefe, and then when they did, it was really exciting because I grew to really respect Sheldon Keefe and really like what he brought to the Leafs. I think about that All or Nothing series that was on Amazon. I don't know if you guys saw that a couple of years ago. It was the 2021 season when it was like, not in the bubble, but it was in that
the year after where you were stuck.
Yeah,
in your
the year after, when it was like 52 game regular season, whatever it was. And just watching him and the way he would like call out guys, even his top guys. I remember there was a one line where he's talking about Mitch Marner, and he's like, Mitch, your line is getting dominated right now. Like, that can't happen. It was like, to me, it was like he was demanding so much from this team. And I think that really at times it wasn't about Sheldon Keefe. It was about the players on that team. And as you're even seeing now with the Leafs, kind of proving that same point, that it really isn't a coaching thing. For a lot of these guys, it's a mental thing. It's the pressure of playing in Toronto, but nonetheless, I mean, these guys, it's a mental thing with them in many ways. But Sheldon Keefe comes here to New Jersey. I think, first of all, he's a lot more relaxed in terms of the pressure, because the media,
oh sure,
night and day. The media is just night and day. But he's one of the smartest coaches in the league. He breaks down things when people ask him, what happened in this situation. He will break it down. And it's wonderful to listen to that. But I also love that he is not afraid to call people out. I'll never forget last year when he said Kovacevic needs to play better. After Kovacevic said after a game the team has to play better. He wasn't necessarily calling out Kovacevic specifically. He was calling out the whole team. But it still made the same point. And I think Sheldon Keefe did about as good as he could with the roster that he was given last year. And he was also pretty much forced to deal with the majority of the coaching staff that Lindy Ruff had hired and that was retained by Tom Fitzgerald. Now Sheldon's getting a lot more, control of things with Jeremy Colleton at the helm, and obviously with Brad Shaw on the back end and things like that. But you can see it if you watch enough of these games. He's pushing guys. He will bench guys in the middle. He will bench lines, and he will just basically be like, nope. And he talked about this recently where with the injuries, it's tougher to do that because while you want to send a message, you kind of can't, because you're then shortening your bench that much more when it's already shortened. And it's frustrating. You go back to the game against Columbus back on Monday.
Oh, that was a crazy one.
We had the whole situation
15
with
fights.
Dillon.
Oh yeah.
Sheldon Keefe didn't hold back.
Fight night at the Joe all over again.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, this is like Avs Red Wings back in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
It literally felt like every 2 seconds it was like somebody's getting into a fight. But even in that game,
I had the Devils, by the way. I bet on the Devils that night, and they literally beat the piss out of us, and we lost because they affected the game because of the fighting.
It was an emotional thing. I think that's why the Devils lost that one. I mean, the goaltending wasn't where it needed to be. Jake Allen, talk about Jake Allen, wasn't all that good in that one, unfortunately. But Sheldon Keefe even talked about after the game, saying things like, for one of the most respected players in this league, talking about Brendan Dillon, to get cheap shotted like that, that's ridiculous. And, Dean Evison had his own choice words to Sheldon Keefe. I mean, I cannot wait for New Year's Eve when these two teams play again, because I guarantee you something's going to happen.
Fireworks.
And you wouldn't think it would be between the New Jersey Devils and the Columbus Blue Jackets.
I mean, Columbus Blue Jackets of anything, just being like that type of rivalry.
And it's so, but going back to Sheldon Keefe, I even look at this year and I say, you can tell it's not a coaching thing. You can tell that it's more of it's a mental thing with this guy, with this team. The injuries, I don't like to say this and make it seem like an excuse, but when these injuries happen, especially to a guy like Jack Hughes every year, it's fatigue for these guys mentally, because it's like every year you're just expecting it. And that once again, the top guys, which to be fair to Nico Hischier and Bratt to a lesser extent, but Timo Meier and Mercer to a lesser extent, like they are stepping up. They are scoring. They are playing well. It's just that we have a bottom six that can't do anything. So we have no depth. So then teams are looking at us and saying, we have to goon it up against them, or we just know that like they're not even that full of a team. So we just have to wear them out. We get a goal, we get a bounce, they're going to fold. And that is what's happened the last couple of games. They give up a weird goal or an unfortunate goal. I mean, they have, this is our mantra here. Dominate, 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 give up the first goal. Dominate, 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 give up the second goal. Like they haven't been dominated in a lot of games, even when Jack Hughes has been out. It's just that this team struggles to finish. And it's not just top guys. It's like the whole team in general. I mean, even in this last game, Juho Lamiku has a breakaway, takes a good shot, it's stuffed by Jake Ottinger, and then Luke Glendening on a rebound and just another save. But if he just lifted it an inch higher, that goes in the back of the net. And then 5 minutes later, boom, goal Dallas, game over.
A little puck luck goes a long way with that kind of stuff.
Right. And Sheldon Keefe even said, he called it out last night. He said, our team was lifeless after the first goal. And he's calling them out. He's calling them out because he wants them to play better. He said earlier this year, I want guys that want to play. He's calling out the team. And that's what I love about him. We need to demand more. You want to win a Stanley Cup? And I get it. Sheldon Keefe has only made the second round once in his career. I get it. I know. But he has a lot more experience than a lot of the guys on this damn team that we have right now, including the general manager. But he said, if you want to win a Stanley Cup, you have to be consistent. And I understand that the injuries are a factor. They're always going to be. But the team can still play at a level that even when guys are hurt, they can still step up. But again, that also goes back to the GM as well. You're not helping the team enough. You're not doing enough. You spent the entire offseason with your quote-unquote number one priority in Luke Hughes trying to get a deal done, and you didn't even get it done until the end of training camp. And you didn't really add much to this team. It is relatively the same team as we saw last year, and that's what's more frustrating than anything else.
So what I love most about
I like Sheldon Keefe. My answer is I like Sheldon Keefe.
What I like most about that,
we take him. Yeah, we definitely take him.
Well, we would take. Not only would we take him, but what I like most is how much disdain you are showing for your GM. I mean, let me introduce you to Kevin Adams.
No, I know Kevin Adams very well. I'm aware.
Oh my God,
I'm aware.
I mean, what do we have to say about Kevin Adams here, Sean? How much time do we have? I mean, we can go quite down quite the rabbit hole for poor Neil here if we really want to give him some true disdain for a GM and not making moves when he should here. But now again,
how has he survived
to the
6 years?
I
don't know.
So obviously, Neil, you know the Sabres have been the butt end of every joke for years now in the NHL. Yes. Obviously, their playoff drought has not exactly helped their reputation. Yeah, 14 years. Maybe. And talking about the Devils and Sabres again, like we did before, based off last week, Black Friday, the Sabres, credit to them, of course, they peppered the Devils with shots and shot attempts the whole game. I think they were close to like 100 shot attempts by the end of it. Tage Thompson got his retribution against Stefan Noesen.
That was nice.
Yeah, I have a fun story about that, by the way. Nason and Tage Thompson talked during warm-ups that was going to happen. Nason goes to Sheldon Keefe and says, is it all right if I just get this out the way? And Keefe said, go at it, big boy.
There you go.
And that's why it went down the way it went down. So
yep,
that's awesome.
I mean,
that's a good trade-off for you guys anyway in the game. You got Thompson in the box.
Got us going.
It's a great trade.
Got Paul Cotter going in particular.
Yeah, man.
I mean, we would have wished the same thing would have happened to the Sabres bench, of course, because despite all that, again, that Noesen hit last season caused quite the controversy for not only the Sabres locker room, but for the fan base too.
It was all that. Hit.
Oh yes, that was a bad hit.
I agree. It was bad.
All of that, though, amounted to the Devils still smoking the Sabres 5-0. So we talked about the Sound the Siren podcast with Chris and Darren. Shout out to them. Also some Hockey Pod
Love those guys.
Network affiliates there. So shout out to them, of course. Talking about this a few weeks ago, because they were talking about it from a Carolina Hurricanes perspective. You and I, we talked about this a little bit before, even in the early part of the show here. Many outsiders watching the Sabres, they look at this team. People are just waiting for all these great players like Tage Thompson, Rasmus Dahlin, Alex Tuch, whoever else they might see as desirable is wanting out. I think Spit and Chicklets had an episode, I think in the last day or two, I forget which guest they had on, saying like, thinking about maybe, do we look at Tage Thompson in the offseason? Like, well, like Spit and Chicklets, like take it for what you will. Like I enjoy the show, but like they've riled some people up for maybe not saying stuff like, in context too much. Ooh, that was a nice touchdown for the Lions, by the way. Oh, Isaac Tesla right there. Tesla. I know. I'm not mad, though, because that's a Jared Goff touchdown pass for those in fantasy right there. That. Yep. So Lions about to be up 27-9 over Dallas right now at the start of the third quarter.
I thought it would be closer than that. Okay.
I thought so, too. Yeah. Anyway, shifting back to the Sabres, though. So talking about Kevin Adams.
Sure.
So unfortunate precedent already set for that already, as we know, with players wanting out, getting what they wish with that trade. You look at Eichel, you look at Ryan O'Reilly, you look at Sam Reinhart, keep going down the list of just like some real, just like a pit of misery for us. So Kevin Adams, tenure as GM on life support. This is his last contracted year. Many.
He's not coming back.
Have you met Terry Pegula and seen how cheap he is with the Sabres?
I'm very aware of Terry Pegula. I'm aware.
Oh my God. I mean, he'll make it rain for the Bills, what it feels like, but at the same time, he is just pinching pennies for the Sabres. So needless to say, not a lot of love for Kevin Adams for just his ineptitude of not making moves, and year 6 and still just making moves that just are
kept the line and waiting in the wings, by the way.
Yes. I mean, you have Brendan Shanahan saying he will outright want to be the GM or president of hockey operations for the Sabres, but Kevin Adams is like a lot of money at him. Oh my God! Again, back up a Brinks truck if you need to.
Yeah.
And with the Sabres as a whole, so far this year, maddeningly inconsistent. I tweeted this out like a week or so ago. Like, if you're going to be good, and like they've shown the pockets of just beating some teams dominantly. I think, like the
smoked Winnipeg the other night.
Winnipeg. Mind you, they were without Hellebuck. I mean,
it doesn't matter. You still smoke them.
Right. They beat Carolina handily when they were at home. Good
for you. We can't do that. we can't do that. So good for you. Somebody can do it.
Played Minnesota handily. Not long after that, New Jersey.
They're on like a 9-game winning streak, beat them.
Right.
No problem.
Mind you, in a shootout, but still, if you're gonna be good, just be good. But if they're bad, which I still think they probably are at their core, like just suck and commit to being bad at this point.
Right. Give up 3 goals last night to Philly in 50 seconds to basically lose.
Pick one at this point, because you can't do this to a fan base again for year 15, where like if it was at least close, where it was like about 3 years ago, where Don Granato had him 1 point out of the playoffs. I think honestly it's kind of ironic because Lindy Ruff, I think, like was a part of the reason why, and the Devils, of course, because the Devils were a wagon that year, where they had like a loss. Gave us the Sabres a loss, like it was like game 80 or 81, which was like one of like the final nails in the coffin.
And that was the same game that Jack Hughes tied the franchise record for goals in a season. I remember because that was Devin Levi was in net for Buffalo. He was. And that was the first time that was the first time I saw him during like a TV timeout doing whatever the heck he does. And
the Jedi meditation.
I was like, what am I? I didn't know about it, and I was like, what is he doing?
Yeah, it's his Jedi meditation that he likes to do
Yeah,
because he
that
likes
didn't work
Star
out
Wars.
It's another great Kevin Adams GM
Yep.
move. Let's ride a rookie and let him just try to take us to the playoffs down a 10-game stretch. Good plan.
I mean, it worked for like a few games in a row. Like he had some juice. He was just coming out of Northeastern at the time, but like just a classic Kevin Adams move right there, of course. I mean, mind you, like, has he made a few good trades there, of course, like the Josh Stone for JJ Paterka, also Michael Kesselring, part of that too. Not really sure what he gives you because of the injury, but still, that's looking like a solid trade. Bowen Byram, jury's now out on him now because, like, while on paper, like up front, like Casey Middlestat, like was jettisoned from the Colorado Avalanche almost immediately. So he went to Boston last year. I mean, Bowen Byram has not had a great season. But anyway, to kind of put a bow on this point here, Neil.
Yeah.
With the persistently bleak outlook and picture we painted for you here, what are your takes on the Sabres as an outsider here? We talked about the logjam of an Eastern Conference we have here. Do you think, whether it's like maybe this year, next year, do they have a prayer of getting out of the basement in your eyes?
I would say, I mean,
and
first
don't
of all,
sugarcoat it.
I'm not going to. Yeah. First of all, I think you have some competition with the Calgary Flames this year if you really want to tank because they're not even trying. They just can't score. Like that. I've watched enough Flames games to know they just can't score. Did score a bunch on you guys, though, I think a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh, they sure did.
Nothing. I think we got shut out that game, actually.
Yeah, it was Devin Cooley had the game of his life for sure in that one. Here's the thing. You talk about Terry Pegula. He's such a fascinating owner, and I'll tell you why. It's the tale of two different situations. He hired football people to do the job with the Bills. And you see what has happened, right? For reasons that I can't understand, he refuses to hire hockey people to do the job of hockey. I don't know if it's a financial thing or if he's trying to make it more about him and meddling. I mean, I like using James Dolan as a good example when it comes to an owner owning multiple, professional sports franchises. You know why the Knicks have gotten good? Because James Dolan hired.
Sorry to interrupt. A quick side note: CeeDee Lamb being attended to by trainers for those watching the game and following for their fantasy football purposes.
Oh God, the Knicks are good because Leon Rose and Worldwide West were hired by James Dolan, and James Dolan stopped doing everything else. He just stopped being involved. He literally let people do their job. The Rangers, he's meddling, and that's why they are where they are. Like he's not doing the same thing. I don't get it. I don't know if it's like hard for I don't get it. With Terry Pegula, it's just fascinating to me that like he's owned these teams for this long. And he's seen the success with the Bills, and he's like, how come I can't do that with the Sabres? Well, it's because you keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result. And I have learned a lot about Sabres fans over the years, being in hockey and talking to Sabres fans, and it's just like, Sabres fans are like Browns fans in this sense.
Oh, yeah. That is a fantastic comparison.
At times it's like you're not asking them to be a Stanley Cup contender in 1 year. You're asking them to be relevant. You're asking them to show the fan base that, hey, we're actually on the up and up and we're on a trajectory of being good.
Or just be competent. Competent is all we want.
As a fan, you both can understand this very well. As a fan, you want to feel like that you know what the plan is. You want to see it. You want to feel like you can see the vision and go, I get it. With the Sabres, I don't see what exactly they're trying to do. It just kind of feels like they're doing everything and then nothing at the same time. And that brings me to why Kevin Adams needs to just go, because he just can't do it. I think that Kevin Adams, at times, I don't want to, it's going to sound like I'm defending it, but just hear me out. I think he was immediately put into a no-win situation. And I think he's still, in many times, in a no-win situation, because the question you have to ask yourself is this: how much control does Kevin Adams truly have in terms of making moves?
Well, considering the fact that he claims that he speaks to Terry Pegula every day, he has Terry's shoulder over him Yeah.
It's not like it's a collaborative talking. It's
no.
Pegula telling Adams what needs to get done.
Right.
And you can't just hire yes men because all you're going to get at the end of the day is what you have now. That's why we're talking about Brendan Shanahan. Brendan Shanahan's not a yes man. He will just tell Terry Pegula straight up, no, this is what you have to do. And you got to do it this way. And if he does, let's say Kevin Adams goes and they do hire Brendan Shanahan, Pegula's going to have to change his tone. He's going to have to back off, literally back off, and let Shanahan or whomever do the job. So if that means, right, that means that you got to rebuild again, at least then the Sabres fans can be like, okay, there's at least a plan.
Right. Gutting the team one more time, but was for a greater vision.
So many would welcome it.
It's adding up into something. Yes.
And you could say this too, right? You could say, oh, it's another rebuild. Well, guess what? What are you doing now that's good now? I mean, you might as well. You got nothing to lose because you're no worse off than where you are now. That's like how I look at it. And it sucks because the Sabres have been around for a long time. Long time. They've had many, many wonderful, moments in their life, in their history. 1999 Stanley Cup. Skate was in the crease.
I don't know if you call that a wonderful time.
Well, I mean,
they were there though. They were there.
They were there. There, yes.
Think about like the early 2000s. I remember watching games on. You guys remember Versus, right? The old. I remember watching. With the old, Bills had the black uniforms. I remember watching those Sabres teams, and they would compete their ass off, and they were a good team. They
were clutch. They would win games at the end.
Good team. Like the NHL would be better. Yeah, and the NHL I think would benefit from the Sabres being good.
This is a market that is a sleeping giant, and it's just waiting to explode again.
I wonder to myself if Gary Bettman, to some extent, is like, please, for the love of God, figure it out. I wonder, maybe not. Maybe he doesn't give a crap. I don't know. He grew up a Ranger fan, so what the hell?
And he's celebrating Florida hockey.
Of course. He's celebrating Florida hockey, and he's going to put a team in Houston in like 2 years.
And Atlanta again, allegedly.
Or Atlanta for like the third time, because it really worked out the first 2 times we tried it. But at the end of the day, I sympathize so much with Sabres fans because I know that there's some passionate people out there. I forgot. I used to. I don't remember her name, but I remember she's a huge Sabres fan. She was very popular on social media. I cannot for the life of me remember what her name is.
Was she the one who sang the songs, Melody Martin?
Yeah. What was her name?
Yeah.
Melody Martin. I think honestly she kind of dropped off the face of the earth.
I haven't heard about her in like 2 or 3 years.
She got kind of bullied on social media, which is unfortunate because it was kind of fucked up. But at the same time,
but imagine if they were good, nobody would be complaining, would they?
Nope.
No. Yeah, she was outstanding, truly. Like Melody Martin, if you're out there, so hey, bring back a song. You know what? That would cheer up so many Sabres fans out there.
And so, like at the end of the day, like I just want to see the Sabres become good at some point. And if it's going to have to take a couple of years, and you do a like legit rebuild and everything, look, again, you're no worse off than where you are now.
Right. What's worse, waiting 5 more years and going nowhere, or starting over and being good in maybe 2 years, 3 years? Like
exactly.
I mean, you as a New Jersey sports fan, obviously you talk about the Giants. So Cam Scattaboo could keep running into a wall and something will happen, but the Sabres will keep running into the same wall and nothing will happen. So that's my take right now. But at least when
Scattaboo runs into a wall, he gets something for it,
and he'll have fun doing it.
Right.
So, but again, with the Sabres, of course, like. We've had so much patience. We started off originally, and we always like to bring this point up. We started off as a strictly Sabres show, and obviously that's hard to do, especially in this day and age. But at the same time, we still love to cover the team. Like we love just everything about it, and we've got several friends that do it as well. Shout out to the 2 Goalies on Mike podcast with Dwayne and those guys. Still, the fact that like so many people, you talked about the passion of the team,
right?
Everybody's just waiting for them to get good again because the support is still there. But you have a generation of fans just liking other teams just because hockey is still popular in the city of Buffalo. But if you're just putting that product on the ice for the way it has been for so long, going on 15 years now.
Mm-hmm.
You have no choice but to like elite teams. You have no choice but to try and find somebody good, which is why it's just, you feel just so much for that, for anybody that follows it. Obviously, that's us too.
Right.
But you latch on to other fan bases, like, because I'm in Virginia, I follow the Washington Capitals for their cup run back in 2018. It was a hell of a time because I got friends that follow the team, and it was just fun to be a part of that again.
Right.
And just having like that playoff feel, just the intensity just ratcheted up. But there's just so many people and so many fans, even young fans now, that just don't know what that feels like. And it's just, they're being robbed of it just because of so much ineptitude. I mean, we've been critical of Terry Pegula. Let's be real. He's not going anywhere at this point in time, but they have the ability to just change so much. I mean, nothing is going to change for the team, barring miracles, of course, but we've run out of chances for that to happen in a decade plus, because nothing is going to change until Kevin Adams leaves. I mean, say what you will about Lindy Ruff. Who knows if he's still got the guy with the answers? But I mean, you have Alex Tuck being dangled his contract extension at this point, just going back and forth. And for a guy, Kevin Adams, saying like, we want people that want to be here, blah, 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 like the cliche line, he could not bleed more Buffalo by being a guy who literally watched the team growing up, living down the street from Tim Connolly, and just being that fan and just having that with him the whole way through. And the fact that you might let him walk, kind of like similar to how Briere and Drury walked back in 2007, huge indictment on the team. And if honestly, I feel like if he walks, it's going to make others like Tage consider it more. I mean, Dahlin, I think
it would be a domino effect for sure.
For sure. I mean, you'll think back to Jack Eichel. You'll think back to, I mean, hell, Kyle Okposo gave up on the team 2 years ago and like won himself a Stanley Cup.
He's the captain too. Yeah.
Right? It's just so bleak for the Sabres. I mean, and you have the flip side of it with the Bills. Like, everything's been like at least much more positive. They're a contender year after year. I mean, but for so long, it was the opposite, where the Bills were dog shit for 17 years. I mean, hell, they're about to match playoff drought lengths here. But then you had the Sabres to look for, because they were just a wagon for like a 2-year span. Obviously, the 05-06 team going to the conference finals, losing to Carolina. Following year, they won the President's Cup 06-07. And then you had 2010 and 2011 seasons as well. It's just so many are just being robbed of that opportunity.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And I always, I'll end it with a little bit of humor. I'll say to Sabres fans, for as bad as it is, you could always be a New York Jets fan.
Yes. They at least have the drought covered by a few months. So we're real quick before we get into more football. I'm glad you bring that up, actually. So I want to do a quick word from one of our sponsors, and that would be DraftKings Sportsbook, of course. So with that, hang on, let me get to the spot on here with our little cue and prompt. So we got the NHL season, obviously well into the thick of it so far. You got spinoramas, Michigan goals, a sprawling save across the crease. Live and breathe all the highlight moments with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. And new customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So let's take a look at some of our odds going into this week. So obviously for our show, we'll talk some Bills in just a moment. So the Bills up against the Bengals this week, according to DraftKings Sportsbook, they are 5.5-point favorites over the Cincinnati Bengals at home this Sunday at 1 o'clock. Going over to the hockey side of things, looking at both the New Jersey Devils and the Sabres for their games tomorrow. New Jersey is hosting Vegas, and they are 1.5 home underdogs. They're plus 1.5, with Vegas being favored by 1.5 goals there. But for the Sabres, they are on the road in Winnipeg for their second of their 6-game road trip there. If you're looking at the money line there, the Sabres are plus 114 to win there, but they are also 1.5 road underdogs. So current lines for just a couple of those teams right there. Feel free to check the odds as you like. But for new customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That is code THPN to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets. And if your bet wins, that is in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. And for the disclaimer, Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, and in New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. And in Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly, and on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, pass through a per wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright NHL 2025. All rights reserved. And now back to our regularly scheduled program.
So, here's something crazy that I just saw while you were doing that. So for the first time since 2007, LeBron James did not score 10 points in a game.
Too.
That's insane.
That not nuts. And then also in the NHL world, Steven Stamkos game winner, but the net was dislodged. Apparently, it still counted.
Okay, then.
Which, by the way, Stamkos all of a sudden started scoring when he just got brought up in trade rumors.
Oh yeah, trying to make sure he gets to a contender real quick.
Go back to Tampa. I'm sure. I'm telling you right now, that smells Tampa finds a way.
Yeah, it was weird just seeing him leave Tampa in general. I'm surprised they didn't make that work.
Money thing.
Oh, for sure. The guy wanted to get paid.
There's no way he's going to take another cup tax. No shot.
Yeah. All right, Neil. But we obviously teased this in the beginning of the show. Also, just to kind of do a quick little recap, we're about an hour 15 in, so we're at nearly 1,000 viewers. Thanks to everybody for tuning in at this point. Also, Jake Bates missed field goal just now for those tuning in to Lions Cowboys. But anyway, Neil, some Bills talk. When we first connected a few weeks ago before Thanksgiving, you told me about your really awesome connection with the team through your family. I want you to take a moment right now, elaborate on that, and then we'll talk a little bit more about that too.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, people are gonna be impressed with this because I have a family connection with the Buffalo Bills. So my uncle, if you're a Bills fan and you maybe recognize my last name, Villapiano, you probably will recognize my uncle, Phil Villapiano, who played in the National Football League from 1971 to the end of 1983, was on the Oakland Raiders for the majority of that, won a Super Bowl in 1977
with John Madden, of course.
The late, great John Madden, may he rest in peace. And my uncle was actually on one of the segments during the Thanksgiving, I think it was the Ravens-Bengals game. He was on there talking about John Madden, which was great. And then Phil was traded to the Buffalo Bills before the 1980 season, played 4 years with the Bills from 1980 to 1983. And, he was at the tail end of his career at that point. I mean, playing left outside linebacker, and at that point he'd already played a decade or pretty close to it. He wasn't the same player, but nonetheless, the story, and this is what the story was told to me. The story goes is that towards the end of Phil's career, he wanted to come back, to the area. He grew up in New Jersey, Asbury Park, New Jersey, and he wanted to play for the Jets or the Giants. Well, neither team wanted him, so the closest local team that he could get to was the Buffalo Bills. So for a couple years, he played for the Buffalo Bills, and so I've always had a soft spot for Bills Mafia. I like to think, I don't know if people would call me an honorary fan, or I guess I would just be allowed to be a Bills fan because I have this automatic connection to the franchise.
Needless to say, you have some street cred.
I do have some street cred. I think that would be a fair thing to say. But the biggest thing that people will remember about my uncle is for something that he was unfortunately a part of, and that was the Immaculate Reception, or as we like to call it in my household, the Immaculate Deception.
Yes.
And that was the infamous playoff game, divisional round for the Raiders against the Pittsburgh Steelers. This was before the Steelers made their run to winning Super Bowls in the 70s. And it was the play where Frenchie Fuqua, who definitely punched the ball for sure, and touched it, went up in the air, and it hit the ground, and Franco Harris caught it as it hit the ground. Obviously, they didn't they didn't call it. They didn't say that. They didn't say that was the case. But The guy who was supposed to be covering Franco Harris just so happened to be my uncle. And on that same play, he was clipped as Franco Harris is running down the sidelines. And if you don't believe me, go back and watch the play and you tell me. And it was a controversy of all controversies. And it ended up propelling the Steelers to 4 Super Bowls. Obviously, the Raiders and Phil got their revenge a couple of years later, especially in the 1976 AFC title game when the Raiders put the beat down on Chuck Noll and the Steelers back in the day. That was great. And Raiders won the Super Bowl against Minnesota Vikings at the Rose Bowl, which back then, guys, they did play it at college stadiums. I mean, I'd love to see it back at the Rose Bowl again. Probably never will happen at all, but a man can dream.
Not to mention the fact, in that Super Bowl, your uncle was famous for the fact that the Vikings blocked the punt, because, again, it was Vikings versus the Raiders, and this was one of the 4 Super Bowls the Vikings went to, so, again, some shared misery with Vikings and Bills fans there. Yep. So that blocked punt that the Vikings had on the Raiders got the ball for the Vikings at, I believe, like the 2 or 3 yard line. And quickly, right away, your Uncle Phil was able to cause a forced fumble immediately to turn the tide for the Raiders and get the ball back instantly, preventing the score. And then ultimately, like that, the team routed the Vikings later on throughout that game.
It changed the game. It changed the game. It ended up being the play of the game, as they said later on. And that was Foreman. I remember him running, and Phil makes a great play, forces that fumble, and it's a moment that he'll always remember, and many of Raider Nation will remember. Again, he was able to go to Buffalo, and he is still a Bills fan. He still watches the Bills as much as he watches the Raiders. I don't know the last time he went up to Buffalo, but he still watches. He's a big Josh Allen fan. Loves Josh Allen.
Nice.
His favorite player, though, as far as I remember, is Milano. Absolutely loves Milano, because
that tracks as a linebacker. So
Milano reminds Phil of himself.
Not to mention the fact Milano's a Jersey boy himself. So
he is a Jersey boy. I mean, that's our family. We're very big on, like, as my dad would say, local boy done good. That's kind of like our kind of like thing here. We love when Jersey guys, make plays. Why do you think I was a huge Tommy DeVito fan when he was on the Giants? Jersey guy. That was really what it came down to. But so that's my big connection to the Buffalo Bills and Bills Mafia.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
With that being said, also now just getting more down into the rabbit hole of the Bills, the NFL at this point. So, Neil, we talk plenty of football here, mostly relating to the Bills. We're trying to get always a wide range of perspectives on other teams. I mean, we've had Mike DeFabo and Jenna Harner, a Pittsburgh area coverage right there, talking about the Steelers, of course. Try and get some other friends of the show on to talk about their perspectives on various teams, whether it be through Washington, Chicago Bears, Detroit aspect, Cleveland Browns, you name it. We had Minnesota Vikings, so on and so forth. Try to get a little bit more perspective. So we always like to ask outside perspective, similar to what we just did with the Sabres. So what are your takes on another maddeningly inconsistent team in the Buffalo Bills this year? And then obviously you mentioned Josh Allen, of course, still being the reigning MVP. Do you think that they have what it takes to make a run, despite them being most likely a wild card team this year? Obviously, they have a little bit of an uphill battle still with that. But what are your takes on the team so far this year?
Well, the first thing that I'll say is what's happened with the Darius Slay situation is pretty wild. I thought when the Bills picked him up, I was like, that's honestly very good. But I guess I don't know if Darius Slay just doesn't want to play anymore. Or maybe he wants to go back to the Eagles and is just finding an excuse to not go to the Bills. I don't really know. But nonetheless, when I look at this Bills team, I think it's fair to say that we all had Super Bowl aspirations when the year started, right? I mean, just looking at it, they had Hard Knocks there this year, which was, granted, they were not the first option, but they were the only team that said yes, which is kind of funny.
I think they were well told that they're doing.
Yeah, I believe the NFL told them, like, you don't have a choice. And it's like, okay. And as we've seen, a lot of teams don't do well after Hard Knocks. The Jets are the one exception in 2010.
Yeah, Rex Ryan.
AFC Championship game. Maybe that's an omen.
Because they had to go get their snack. That's why.
They had to go get their goddamn snack. That's for sure, which is still an iconic moment in that. And also the shake weights. That was big back.
Yeah, that's right.
Big in 2010.
Yeah.
But here's the thing with the Bills. What is really interesting to me is that the Bills offense has not been the same as it was last year. And I don't know exactly what I would say. I don't know if it's an offensive line thing or if it's a lack of weapons, but nonetheless, it feels like Josh Allen, and to an extent as well, James Cook, have to carry the load a lot more. And also dealing with Keon Coleman has been, I feel like it's just been a nightmare, this year. And like hearing Daryl, Dawkins talking about like, oh, this guy needs to, grow up. And I'm like, what is going on at this point? Like, because I think the belief was that he could be like the guy, and he's not. And that has to be frustrating to some extent. But I would say this. I think the Bills being a wild card team is the absolute perfect position for this team. Because in years past, as we've seen, they've been one of the top teams. They've had some home field advantage, right? And they had to keep dealing with that freaking team up in Kansas City or over in Kansas City.
Oh, don't remind us. Yeah.
Right.
Which maybe
they may not even make it into the tournament this year.
The football gods are kind to us. Maybe they don't even make it. It won't matter.
Right.
Nonetheless, I think the Bills are a team that can really, really benefit from being a wild card. A team that, because they're not being talked about a lot. Because remember, they're not even the most talked about team in their own division. You got the lovely, the absolutely lovely, because we can't go 5 years without it being this way, the Patriots being good. And I mean very good. Yeah. And I mean, look, you got to tip their cap. They came to Buffalo and they won. You got to give them credit.
Absolutely.
You got to give them credit. And they're playing really well. Maybe Drake May's the front runner for MVP. Who knows? But nobody's talking about the Bills that much right now, are they?
Not in at least a positive manner. So
not in a positive manner. But I'll tell you this. I think that's exactly what the Bills need. Nobody talking about them, and let them just go play. And
the underdog mentality, they thrive on that.
They do.
I think they're going to get in. I don't have doubts about that. They're going to get in. And I think that this is going to be the most motivated this team has been. Because also, I think there's a lot of jobs on the line too this year. I think there's a lot of things talking about, with the head coach and the GM. I mean,
and the coordinators. Yeah.
Coordinator Joe Brady, who I'm still not a fan of to this day. Still not a fan.
Oh, tell us about that one. Yeah. Joe Brady has,
wasn't a fan of him with the Panthers. Wasn't a fan when the Bills decided to hire him, but that's neither here nor there. But I really think, I know that Bills Mafia wants to, have home field advantage, have this, the AFC run through Buffalo and, cold January night in Buffalo. I mean, it's what you want. But this Bills team, in many ways, reminds me of that Bengal team a couple of years ago. Nobody was talking about them. Nobody had the biggest expectations. They did have a home playoff game because obviously, they, by default in their own situation, but they went and they beat teams. They beat the Raiders, beat the Ravens. Then they go to Kansas City, and nobody thought they were going to beat Kansas City. And they go in and they win that game.
The dreaded 13-second game, no less.
The 13-second game. And I think that the Bills can do something very similar to that if they're a wild card team. It wouldn't surprise me if they go to Foxborough in the AFC Championship game and got to play the Patriots. Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Now, that would be magical for so many reasons, because as you know, you say it as a New York Giants fan yourself, as somebody who got to just vanquish all the evil that is Boston sports.
Yeah.
I mean,
I got two reasons to be happy.
Exactly.
I got two reasons. So
as you rightfully should, and just treasure those as core sports memories.
Believe me, I'm treasuring them considering what the last 10 plus years has been, my friend. I'm treasuring it so much.
At the same point, like everybody thought the perfect playoff game a few years back, right before that aforementioned 13-second game, was when the Bills just absolutely curb stomped the New England Patriots. When they came to Buffalo, it was basically
it was like a perfect game.
That was the perfect game. They scored on every drive. It was 47 to, I think, 19 or something, somewhere in that range. There was a dildo thrown on the field. I mean, Belichick, it was basically his last final push as the Patriots head coach to really do something. And heck, credit to Mac Jones that season. Like, he looked pretty strong. But I mean, the Patriots this year, you brought them up too, of course. A lot of people say, oh, they played a scrub schedule. And they truly have. I mean, I've had this conversation.
I don't think they were expected to be this good. That's
no,
the thing.
They weren't. They were not. And credit to them, of course. You won the games on your schedule. You had a couple of really solid wins. Yeah. I mean, everybody thought,
beat the Giants. Do you want a cookie? I don't know what to tell you about that.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, the Bills, yes, they beat them. I mean, it was a close one all the way through. The Bills shot themselves in the foot, but that's not to make an excuse. The Patriots played them strong. I mean, that was the first game where turnovers became an issue for Allen, and that was it hasn't really changed since then.
Right.
And now we're looking at the Bills looking at on the outside, looking in for a division title. Patriots are on the bye this week. Excuse me. But still, a lot needs to happen in order for the Bills to have the AFCs come back in their favor.
Sure.
They need to obviously beat the Patriots next Sunday. The Bills need to more or less run the table for their remaining schedule, which isn't exactly easy. They have the Bengals, which we talked about before, and they're showing that they're no pushover now that Burrow is back.
Right. Now that
beat the Patriots,
a certain quarterback is back under center, yeah, for sure.
Oh yes, and then
I have a good friend.
Defense.
Yeah, I have a good friend. Her name's Liz, diehard Bengals fan. She's so pumped for this week.
It should be a solid matchup. I'm surprised they ended up flexing it out of that 4:30 window.
Well, but, I mean, I think it's because the Bengals record. Honestly, that's
sure.
That's fine.
But then after that,
Burrow's dominated them in his career too.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. After the Patriots, they'll have Cleveland again. Their defense will surprise you. Myles Garrett could have a day.
Watson plays by then.
Ooh, we'll see about that. That would be something in and of itself.
Well, he got allowed to practice again, so I'm just saying.
Right. I was also reading there's like a potential loop on the salary cap there. If they like get him to practice or at least get him on the field, that might relieve some salary cap woes for them because only Cleveland can have that happen.
We better hope that Shedeur Sanders plays. That'll
be wonderful. Wonderful.
Better hope.
Yeah, but then after that, the two remaining games, they have the Eagles in Buffalo, which will be, I think, a very fascinating game just to see what the status is of the Philadelphia Eagles at this point. Are they a pretender or a true contender at this point? Because they've just been so hot and cold this year.
I have my own thoughts on that team.
I mean, you're pretty close in proximity to the Eagles yourself.
They're this year they're pretenders for sure. This is not as dominant of an Eagle team as we've seen in years past. And you're seeing once again, I'm just going to say this up front. When you force Jalen Hurts to throw more than he should, that's when the problems start happening. And don't be surprised if A.J. Brown wants out of Philly by the end of this year.
He's already more or less saying that right now, which
if I'm the Bills in the offseason, I would call.
There's a number one.
Hell, you could even make a call for another Minnesota wide receiver and Justin Jefferson, who's also looking unhappy at this point in time with all this quarterback carousel.
That might be on the market this offseason for sure.
Yeah, the only thing working against a lot of these top receivers that want to leave is they cost so much. I mean, the receiver market, again, for elite receivers, you're getting paid 35, 40 million a year. That's hard if you're going to try and pull off a trade unless somebody's retaining money or you're just pushing money like you're the New Orleans Saints. So, like, that's the only way you're going to make that work or add some void years to the contracts. So, I mean, Brandon Beane, who you already talked about, is somebody with a job on the line this year. Obviously, he's come under a lot of fire. Obviously, you talked about Keon Coleman leaving so much more to be desired. So many people were hopeful early on in the season, like especially after the Ravens game. Oh, he's finally here. He's arrived. He'll explode. Hasn't done a lick of things ever since. Discipline problems, whether it's showing up to meetings or just overall seriousness he's taken with the team as well.
In fantasy.
Oh, yeah. As he screwed so many in fantasy, including me as well in Dynasty. But also, the wide receiver room in and of itself, you have zero world beaters. You have solid guys. Like you have a team full of bees. Khalil Shakir, great slot receiver. And if you could even use him in multiple ways. Josh Palmer leaving a lot more to be desired because everybody thought, oh, he's going to be this great separator. They
Hard
just
Knocks was
underutilized
hyping him up big time, man.
Yes,
I don't
they were.
like they were hyping him up like he
the
was
big-
like a top 5 receiver in the league.
Yep.
Right.
Kincaid off injured. He might looking like he'll finally be back this coming week. But I mean, now he's showing another knee injury, of course. And leaving a lot of folks in Bills Mafia worried, concerned, almost frustrated with the fact that like you got another athletic tight end. Like, is he made of glass? Is he going to be able to stay healthy? That kind of thing. I mean,
He's
just
talking
about
doubles.
Yeah, right.
He'd fit in right away.
Right. You got desperation moves in the wide receiver room. You're seeing moves for Brandon Cooks being picked off a waiver.
Guys off the couch.
Gabriel Davis. He's making his return. There's a funny thing on the local radio station in Buffalo, WGR 550, like the future Bill, former Bill. How many guys that have formerly been on the Bills, both on the offensive side and defensive side of the ball, will either leave the team and make their way back, obviously, because the familiarity, it helps. Sure, great, whatever. But I mean, how often can you keep going back to the well just to like fill in spots on your roster that you should have taken care of in the offseason when Brandon Beane himself.
Well, you have no cap space. You have no choice.
There's always a way to figure it out. I mean, the cap you can manipulate so much. Obviously, there's a point and a limit. Like the Saints are paying for it now, like we just talked about before. But for Brandon Beane to go on the radio to his own local sports radio station to say, quit bitching about wide receivers. Well, that could not have blown up more in your face. And I know many outlets and many places have just gone over this in great detail. I mean, this offseason, obviously, like if Beane is still there, which he very likely will be, like he knows that must be the focus. And there's plenty of holes otherwise, but wide receiver must be the focus. Otherwise, you'll have fire and brimstone and pitchforks of people saying you have wasted another year of prime Josh Allen. There's only but so much time you have left of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the thing about, it's so funny because obviously with the Giants, they've had, there's so many connections obviously with Buffalo, with Joe Shane and, the now fired Brian Daboll. And it's funny because you bring up what Beane has said and like how at times he doesn't, take accountability for like what he has done. I swear, I know exactly now where Joe Shane gets it from. I now figure, because literally like yesterday, Joe Shane got absolutely crucified because they kept saying like, well, you still fired the coach and this team is still not where it needs to be. And Joe Shane danced around it and didn't really like hold accountable. He's like, oh, I'm just, I'm going to be better tomorrow than I was today. And I'm like, no,
nobody wants to hear that shit.
It's not what we want. And at this point,
a Beane protege.
I get it now. I totally get it. I totally understand it. And it's frustrating because, this Bills team has every capability to go and win a Super Bowl. I don't have a doubt in my mind that they can. It's just frustrating when your GM, there's an obvious hole, and I understand with cap space and everything, but still, like, you got to do something. You got to do something. You got to take a risk. Got to do something. Like, it's frustrating because obviously things, fell apart with Stephon Diggs, and you see what he's doing now in New England. And
another thing, don't remind us, we missed Diggs.
Right.
For all the BS he brought on the sideline.
Everybody
the guy gets open.
We miss him.
Of course. And it's like, you say to yourself,
I don't speak for everybody. I miss him. I don't, but
fair
still.
enough.
Oh,
fair
for
enough.
sure.
Yeah.
But I think like it sucks because obviously right now there isn't much you can do in terms of, you could look for guys on the street and literally just like figure it out. But like Josh Allen is in a very similar position that Mahomes has been in for a couple of years with just like having B receivers that are like, okay.
Yeah.
But he's so good that he's just going to make people better. The question that you're going to have to find out is when we get in the playoffs, how reliable are these guys going to be? How truly reliable are we going to be able to? And look, they make it to the Super Bowl. Not many people are going to say a whole lot about what they did not do.
They will get a ton of goodwill back if they actually.
They'll get a ton of goodwill, but if they don't get there, there's gonna be a lot of questions to answer, and you just wonder, especially like in this situation, right? We were talking about with the Pagulas and how they've meddled so much with the Sabres. I worry about if they don't get over the hump like this year. does Pegula start to do his thing again
Get antsy.
and start making decisions that maybe he shouldn't?
So I will say Sean
yeah.
McDermott is very likely safe. I mean,
I
my
think he
honest
is very
opinion
likely safe. I
I think
agree.
so.
he's Sean
The
McDermott has been in the
coordinators might
crosshairs
both
in the
leave.
past.
Yeah.
Sean McDermott has been in the crosshairs in the past. I mean, we've had Tyler Dunn on our show, and he had the big expose piece of just like the issues and problems that he's had in the past.
The hit piece.
Credit to McDermott, he's evolved. I know there's still plenty of critics say like get him out of here, that kind of thing. He's still holding the team back.
I've seen it as well. A lot of people want him gone.
I mean, personally, I don't think he is the true
Which
issue.
As a Giants fan, I would take Sean McDermott in a heartbeat.
I know a lot of people would.
Available.
Oh yeah,
you'd be a playoff team next year.
A lot of
people
might not
win a chip, but you'd be a playoff team.
You'll be a consistent contender.
I will take 9 wins next year. Thank you. I will take it if it's going to get to that point. If I get 9, 10 wins, why do you think I want Mike McCarthy as the next Giants head coach right now? Because I'll take 10 wins.
Wow. All right.
I'll take 10 wins because at least then we feel like something's happening as opposed to 3 or 4 wins a year. So there you go.
Right.
Yeah, but still,
the whole
McDermott, I think, is safe. This is the very first year. What was that, Sean? Sorry.
I said, it's the Sabres conversation and no direction. You take a direction.
Yeah.
Positive.
Something. But still, McDermott, I would say, is safe. I mean, and I think since he was here first, the team kind of runs through him. Sure. McBean came later, and this is the first year he's really come under a lot of fire and a lot of heat.
Yeah.
Like he's had some criticism in the past for like kind of missing on a lot of early round draft picks, like talk about Kyer Elam, Boogie Basham, and players like that in the past.
New York Giants legend Boogie Basham.
You know. But still,
who was the receiver
more so than ever?
Who was the receiver?
Isaiah Hodgins, who's now back with the Giants.
Who, by the way, I love. I absolutely love Isaiah Hodgins.
We were sad he kind of left that he was picked up. We were sad it was picked up because it was like a year. It was like a year that Bills made a pretty deep playoff run. I think that was the 13-second year. He was picked up off the practice squad for the Giants, and that was the year.
Made the playoffs.
Yeah, they made the playoffs.
And he was a big part of Daniel Jones having a good year.
Yeah, and they like extended him everything. Dude got paid. So, but still, that was crappy to see him go. Yeah. But still, Bean is under some fire. I wouldn't be surprised, if shit goes south for the Bills, like people calling for his head just because of not only did he not make a single move, he apparently on paper tried to trade for Jalen Waddle, tried to trade for Quinnen Williams. Again, individual trades aren't easy, but if all it took was a first-round pick of this coming year, every single Bills fan would have signed up for them taking Jalen Waddle if that was allegedly the case. Like, who cares? You traded a first-round pick of that upcoming year for Stephon Diggs. You saw what it did for your team. You saw what it did for just the overall feel of what Josh Allen can give you and just how much firepower you could have with somebody like Jalen Waddle or any like receiver of that caliber. It doesn't even need – there's better receivers than Jalen Waddle out there. But just the fact that he made no moves and now he is just hurrying in a desperate attempt to get guys like Gabe Davis back on the 53-man roster. You got Brandon Cooks.
Right.
And I mean, you're making waiver claims for Darius Slay, who doesn't even want to play for the team now, apparently, just because he wanted to play for the Eagles.
Beckham want to come to Buffalo? saying.
They tried that and were kicking the tires on that before he ended up going. Who signed him actually? Miami. But still, is the guy healthy? No, he's too worried about not having enough money in his entire career. That Ryan Clark
and I think honestly, OBJ wants to at some point retire as a Giant. I'm telling you this just from my he literally posts stuff about the Giants all the time, and I'm like, okay, like what do you want from us?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't know,
but yeah, Neil, appreciate your takes on the Bills again. Just we love outsiders' perspectives on that too. Kind of wrapping things up here. We like to do just one little fun little segment as we get towards the end of the show. We call this the Grind My Gears, Give Them Their Flowers segment, brought to you by one of our very first sponsors, Larger Than Life Blooms, because size matters. So, Neil, with this segment, what we like to do, hence the name Grind My Gears, think like Peter Griffin. You know what grinds my gears, that kind of thing. So I want you to lay down some hate, or on the flip side of things, give them their flowers. You can lay down some hate on someone or something that is driving you nuts, or show some gratitude or even some kindness towards somebody's way or something in your life that's been special to you. So,
Sure.
Neil, what'll it be for you this week?
Can I do both?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. All right. So here's what really grinds my gears. I want Joe Shane fired. He sucks. He holds no accountability. And if John Mara, who I really wish that I hope he gets better, because obviously he's dealing with cancer right now, Giants owner, really do hope he's okay. But Joe Shane has no business picking the next head coach. He can't even build the team right. I mean, he definitely learned a lot from Bean, didn't he? Just in general, with
and he might, based on his potential offseason ahead, he might also be on that former Bill, future Bill list too.
Yeah, it's just,
he might come back in the front
I
office.
I just don't see I don't see a world where it makes sense. I mean, Dable, it's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, you guys got fired because you decided to keep Daniel Jones long term when there was no reason to extend him that long. You could have paid Saquon and put Daniel Jones on the franchise tag. Who cares? You really think Daniel Jones?
And he's starting to turn into a pumpkin in Indy now.
Yeah.
Great, fantastic. We tried to warn people. We tried to warn. Indianapolis, like, no, we fixed them. No, you just have the best offensive line in football.
Right. And the best running back too, by the way.
And the best running back, who, in my opinion, by the way, I think he should win MVP. Jersey guy, by the way. Just saying. Just thought I'd bring that up. But yeah, no, Joe Shane, I'm so sick and tired of him saying everything and then nothing at the same time. I just don't see a world where any coach would want to come here with a GM that maybe in another year he gets fired anyway. So then what do you do then? Like, it doesn't really work that often where like a GM lasts beyond his first head coach and then picks another one and then it works. Like, it doesn't happen very often. So that really is like what's grinding my gears. In terms of gratitude, so I'm gonna give a shout out to something that has nothing to do with sports, and
we welcome that. That's great.
Yeah. So I work in addition to all the media stuff that I do, on the side I work for a nonprofit called Lead You. It's based out of New Jersey, and basically what Lead You is, we call ourselves quote unquote an energy company. And what do we mean by that is this: we do assemblies and workshops all over New Jersey, in schools all over. And we've been to also Long Island in New York. We've been to Canada. We've gone down to Florida a couple of times, and we're slowly trying to expand beyond, the Garden State. And a lot of the games and activities that we have for kids are for things about leadership, communication, emotions, smart choices, building self-confidence, and all these things. And I think in the world that we live in now, where a lot more people are struggling with things like self-worth, self-love, confidence, leadership in many ways, if we can just change the lives of one person and make their day, even if we're there for an hour, it goes a long way. I mean, I had kids asking me for autographs today. I was at work for 10 hours. I went to 2 different schools today, which doesn't happen as often. Usually it's just one school. But getting up early in the morning, 5, 6 a.m., driving an hour and a half to the school, all of that is so worth it at the end of the day when you make someone's day like that. And they take even just a little bit of what you said. And I really, really recommend that people check us out. Just look up Lead You. We're on social media. We're on Instagram and we're on TikTok. I post a bunch of stuff on my own socials as well about Lead You. My stage name there is NVP. And that, I really love being a part of it. And I want to shout out JD Wilson, Kelly, Shauna, Steve. And the list goes on and on and on, of just all these people that I've had the chance to work with since March of 2023. And I love making a difference in young kids' lives. And it's something that really is awesome, because as tough as obviously at times when us as sports fans and how much at times our teams can really dictate how we feel and everything, it's such a great escape for me to do something that has nothing to do with sports that I can escape to, that I can come, be myself, make a positive impact in young people's lives, and go from there. And we go from like preschool all the way up to like seniors in high school. And we also do professional development for teachers and other people like that as well. So again, Lead You, please go check it out. And if you know people that or schools that would be interested, even if they're not in New Jersey, please, please, please tell them to reach out to us, because we will absolutely make it work. I promise you, we will make it work. We will be there, and we will do the best that we can. And I would argue to say that we would make it the best assembly that your school will have all year. And that's not just being cocky, that's a fact, because we've done it in so many schools. I'm going to another one tomorrow morning. And yeah, I really just wanted to shout them out.
So the educator in me, as my full-time job, Neil, appreciates what you do. So thank you for that. So,
and, an educator like yourself also deserves to be recognized, because you can have a teacher appreciation day, a week, even a month, but it goes without saying that what you do on a daily basis goes so long in kids' lives. You're making a difference in their lives every single day. We only get to meet them for a couple of hours a day, for one day, but you have to be with them every single day and interact with them and get to know them. And I have so many friends that are teachers and educators and people in that world, and I appreciate every single one of them. And even since I worked at LEU, I have that much more of an appreciation for what you guys do on a daily basis. So I want to give you your recognition as well.
Appreciate that, Neil, very much. Again, awesome just doing both sides of that for sure as well. So, again, so for now, my take on some grind my gears a little bit too. So, many people know my wife and I have 2 little boys. So, this past week, obviously, Sean got to visit us for Thanksgiving. So, we were, let's just say, blessed with the both of them getting ear infections, cough, just overall crud, which seems to rear its ugly head this time of year for little kids. Yep. You obviously just feel awful for them because they can't do much about it. But, I mean, you also feel awful because they're not sleeping, causing us in turn to not be sleeping. So for me, again, love my children to pieces, of course. I'm going to go with childhood illnesses grinding my gears, just because, man, it's brutal not only on them, but on us. So to any parent out there with little kids who got sick over the Thanksgiving holiday, I feel for you very much, because we just lived that very much.
I've been sick I literally just got over being sick literally like a day ago. So yeah, this year is no joke. This year in particular it's been rough for a lot of people.
Yeah. Shawnee V, what about yourself?
I do want to give some quick flowers. You alluded to it just a minute ago. Just a fantastic trip, being up in Richmond for about a week. Not only to enjoy the Thanksgiving holiday, but also with my birthday. Just wanted to give a shout out to obviously you and my sister-in-law, Emily, and your kids, and just really the entire extended family that, we got to spend time with. They did a fantastic job hosting everywhere that we went, even surprising me with the birthday cake on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we had fun with that one.
Yeah, it was awesome. So thanks to all your family and our extended family. It was really a great, awesome 38th birthday.
Oh yeah, we're glad to be part of that too, Sean. So with that, Neil, I think you helped set a record for us for being our longest show. Well, we're happy to have that be the record too, of course. With that also, we want to make sure, again, first and foremost, we appreciate the time very much, Neil. So
thanks, Neil. You're awesome.
Yeah, and also got over 1,100 live viewers on that. So thank you all for tuning in on this as well. So, but then Neil, give the listeners and viewers here a plug for some of the things you have coming down the pipeline and where they can find you and your awesome work.
Yeah, well, again, first and foremost, thank you guys so much for having me on and dealing with me for nearly 2 hours. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, I talk a lot, and it goes on and on and on. And, time flies when you're having fun. I think that's really the best way to look at it. But yeah, you can check out my podcast, Devil's State of Mind podcast. I'm over on Facebook and Instagram, Devil's State of Mind. Just look it up and you can find it. On Twitter, which was shouted out here, Devil's State. You can check it out over there. I'm also on TikTok, Neil.Villapiano. So it's literally my full name, just Neil Villapiano, and you can find it. I'm also over on Blue Sky as well. I give you guys updates from the podcast as well as everything going on with the New Jersey Devils. So make sure you guys go check that out as well. Go Bills. Love that.
Yep.
And yeah, really, and I also just want to say, like, guys, go check out the entire hockey podcast network, not just my podcast and what Chris and Sean going on over here, but just everybody. Like, I truly mean this when I say this. This is this is a growing network that is going to continue to get bigger and better and better. It's working for Dylan and Kyle. I mean, they are phenomenal people, and their mission with all of this has been wonderful. And we're
extremely accessible too.
It's extremely accessible.
Always available to answer any question you have.
Yeah,
very much
and
appreciate
also,
that.
Kind of another weird, interesting plug. I'm also the co-host of a podcast with Kyle Manifold called Flamescast, which covers the Calgary Flames. I do that for fun. I literally do that for fun. Love hanging out with Kyle. We meet once a week on Monday.
That's a tall order this year for covering the Flames, man.
Oh, no, we still have fun. Don't worry. We still have a lot to talk about. You have no... If you want to know, go check out the last episode when we're talking about Dave Maloney. And if you don't know who that is, look him up and you'll understand why. But nonetheless, make sure you go check out Flamescast as well. Flamescast NHL on Instagram and also on Twitter. And also, make sure to like and subscribe to the Devil State of Mind podcast over on YouTube. I am so close to 175 subscribers. I'm literally like that close. So if
help them
people
get there,
can
folks.
like and
help them
subscribe
get there.
And help me get there, that would be wonderful. Because
if the Sabres aren't doing it for you, let the Devils do it for you this year.
That's right.
I would, in a perfect world, I would love to get to 200 by the end of the year. If I can get there, that would also be fantastic. You can check out the video podcast episodes over on there. Literally, it's the same background. And also, I got merch now, just like this. I got sweatshirts.
There you go.
I got shirts. I think I'm even wearing a shirt. Yeah, I got a shirt under this.
Yeah, he's ready.
So, yeah, honestly, just go to my link tree for the podcast, which you can find on any of the social media platforms, and you will find a link to the Devil State of Mind merch. And please go get yourself some Devil State of Mind merch. That would mean a lot to me as well, and show some love over there. And yeah, and again, because we talked about him, shout out to my uncle Phil. I know he's not watching. He has no idea I'm even doing this. Supporter of me in my career. We stay in touch even now, and just want to shout him out because he's a great guy. I know a lot of people. There's a Facebook group that's pushing for Foo, as his nickname was, to get him into the Hall of Fame. If you're on Facebook and you want to check out that page and join, it's mostly Raider fans, but we will welcome Bills fans who know Phil and remember Phil. And if you want to be a part of trying to get my uncle into the Pro Football Hall of Fame and get another member of Bills Mafia into Canton,
get him there with Steve Tasker.
Do it.
So there you go. And that would mean a lot. My cousin Phil's daughter Andrea runs it, but we will welcome you guys with open arms and help us as we try to get my uncle in there, which would be great to join a lot of his teammates and his legendary Hall of Fame head coach. So
absolutely,
love it. Do a little
you heard that here, fan base. He's part of the Mafia. Let's help make that happen too. All right. So awesome. Thank you so much for that, Neil. So with some other closing remarks on here, Shawnee V, anything on your mind before we depart for the evening?
No, it's nice to be back. Be back in Atlanta and back to work. I'm pretty beat from traveling all day, but yeah, I know we have a pretty big episode coming up. I think next week. If you want to plug that,
we do. Absolutely. So look for us next Thursday night at 9 p.m. We have none other than the Bruce exclusive himself, Bruce Nolan of the Bruce Exclusive podcast, to go into a much deeper dive on the Bills next week. Again, we're very much looking forward to having Bruce back on the show. Always a great listen if you haven't checked out the Bruce Exclusive podcast for yourself. He had a great episode come out today as well. But with that, folks, to our, once again, over 1,100 viewers tuning in on all of our platforms, thanks again for tuning in, and let's go Buffalo.
Let's go Buffalo.